We're like every, fight fan sitting at home on their couch, and we just watched these fights, and so we have our initial reactions. My initial reaction is completely about Steve Erceg. I mean, Alexandre Pantoja, give him a ton of credit. He came out, he got the job done tonight, and he looked like Alexandre Pantoja doing it, but Steve Erceg had it, and we talked about it all week, that he looks just so loose, he looks so confident, he was handling all this. He had made his UFC debut less than a year ago, guys. He had 3 fights, and he showed such composure until the last 90 seconds when he shot for a takedown in a fight that was up for grabs, and then he gets reversed. That was just unforgivable, and he blew it. He said it himself. I loved his post-fight speech because he said it himself. I blew it, because he is going to go back and look at the last 90 seconds of that fight, and he is going to hate it. Credit to Pantoja, but he is going to hate it.
Yeah, we look at the number next to his name. There are not 10 flyweights in the world better today than Steve Erceg. But we also look at some other numbers we've seen on screen. The judges' scorecards. Guys, we were sitting here going round by round, giving our take. Brett, how did you see this play out? We saw a couple scores on screen, 48-47 for Pantoja, 49-46 for Pantoja. How'd you have it?
Yeah, I had it 48-47, 3 rounds to 2 for Pantoja. And I thought that it was coming down, obviously, to the very, very end. I thought that Steve Erceg did a phenomenal job of, letting Pantoja go after those scrambles and do his grappling. You're not going to shut that down completely, but what you can do is you can make it difficult for him. And I think that's what he did. Even in losing the first 2 rounds, he made Pantoja expend a lot of energy. He himself got a lot more confident because of the way some of those scrambles were going, and then you saw it pay dividends in rounds 3 and 4. And round 5 was up for grabs, and that's what it came down to.
For me, you could have made a cogent argument for either fighter in rounds 2 or 3. Chael, some home cooking. You had it as a sweep for the champion, Pantoja.
I certainly did. Now, I had a very close fight, but I did feel as though Pantoja was winning each round and doing just enough. That was very arguable in a couple of them, but I would like to tell you this. Fighters have this unwritten agreement that's going on at all times. And the agreement goes something like this. When a guy's putting pressure on you, when he's landing the strikes, when you're the one that's bleeding, when you're the one that's being held down, when you're the one that for sure is losing the rounds, you start to back off. As you start to back off, the opponent who's dominated starts to be a little bit nicer. He starts to land punches instead of elbows. Just by example, he starts to hold you in guard as opposed to pass. It's an unspoken agreement that Erceg tore up in front of the world. Erceg had nothing to do with his contract. Erceg flipped the script. He was putting the pressure on him. We can only fantasize. What would happen if there was a round 6 or 7? And I realize that that's a waste of conversation, but we still have that conversation. And I'm telling you, I thought Erceg was really coming on. For a guy that is so incredible with his pace, and Pantoja, he burned a lot of calories tonight with the number 10 guy in the world. Come on. Nobody's challenging Erceg after that performance.
I want to go back to Pantoja, the champion. When we were watching this, a name that you said that piqued my interest, Mr. 159-0, Chael Sanderson. What was the comparison you drew between perhaps the greatest wrestler we've ever seen in the college ranks to now the king of the flyweights defending his belt?
And I appreciate you bringing that up. Bobby Douglas, the Hall of Fame coach, was the coach of Chael Sanderson. And Bobby Douglas said, and this was back in the year 2001, but Bobby Douglas said, I have never had an athlete that bothers his opponents more, that will annoy you by grabbing your ankle while being on your head, while chopping your elbow, while putting a leg in. That's what Pantoja did. There was never a spot where he didn't make you react. And I must go back to the analogy of a fight being like a dance, in that one person can lead at a time. Pantoja has to take his foot off the gas for Erceg to then get his offense going. They say that the greatest defense is a good offense, and that is what Pantoja does in every fight, and he did it tonight.
And Pantoja said post-fight, Brett, he wants a little time off. And whenever that is that he makes his return. This is a guy who probably could have fought for the belt a year and a half before he did. Remember, he tore his knee and then had to wait out and then go back and get the belt from Brandon Moreno and then defend it against Brandon Royval. Who makes sense for Pantoja whenever it is that we see him return to the octagon to make his next defense?
I think the timing of it is going to make a difference. And I know that you tried to remove that from the question, Phil, but we know the timing is everything, right? Yes. That's why Steve Erceg was here tonight and not some of these other names. Amir Albazi just had neck surgery. He's not due back until at least September is what I'm told. Manel Kopp is up there. You don't see him in the top 5, but Kopp is up there as well. But he's also coming off of an injury. He's not going to be back until this summer. Timing means a lot. I mean, Pantoja has already beat Royval. He's beat Moreno. I mean, the guy, like you said, he could have fought for a title years ago, and that means that he has already beaten a lot of these guys. I think the name that's going to come up the most over the next few days is Muhammad Mokaev. He was sort of there for this one. They ended up going with Steve Erceg, I think, correctly after seeing the performance tonight. But Muhammad Mokaev, he's passed every test that they put in front of him. He's calling for it on a daily, hourly basis. I would put him as the front runner to get the next shot.
Yeah, and you said it. Timing is everything. So Kai Kara-France calling out Manel Kopp. I know each of them have a couple recent losses. Should they get a win, timing work out, it's possible. Chael, do any of those names pique your interest as as a fight fan for Pantoja's next?
Well, and Kai Kar's not going to get the fight. He's going to have to do something and maybe two somethings in between. But I do like matchup-wise. I like Kai Kar in there. And if I can just tell you, I know we should be talking exactly what you're doing. I got to just switch it a little bit to Erceg because whoever calls Erceg out, I will be impressed with. And I don't think that's going to be anybody. Anyone that steps forward and even feints that they want that kind of smoke, as the kids say, that they can go in and have an answer to that. There's kind of a rule. You don't call a guy out after he gets beat. But to your point, he is not staying at number 10.
No.
This is the first guy to get beat that is going to go up the rankings, and he is going to soar up the rankings. And I think somebody would be very wise to align yourself with him, particularly if the champ is going to take that break.
And let's not forget, middle of August, the UFC Octagon is going to Perth. That is Steve Erceg's hometown. He said if he came out of this with a clean bill of health, he just won 25 hard minutes.
Yeah.
But if he can make that turnaround in 3.5 months, he'd be more than happy to appear on that card and potentially keep his name fresh in everybody's mind.